Welcome to the Randy Gravitt Leadership Podcast, where we help you lead the hardest person you will ever lead, yourself. Here's your host, someone who believes leadership begins at home, Randy Gravitt.
Welcome to a very special episode. This is going to be totally different. The next couple of weeks, actually, we have lassoed my beautiful wife, Laura. Everybody always says beautiful wife. I don't know why they say that, but I'm so excited that you have agreed to join us. And we're going to just spend a little time talking to families. I mean, leaders have families. It's a great time of year. Thanksgiving's coming up next week. And so welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've heard so many leaders say this year that it's been a year of disruption, a year of crazy, all that kind of stuff. But in some ways, it's been a really great year for our family. We've had some pretty big events this year. Why don't you tell us about those and how really how we've kind of navigated these last 3 or 4 months. They've been a little crazy around here. So
they have been a little bit, but it's been good crazy, really good crazy.
It really has been.
With 2 weddings, 2 of our 4 daughters got married, and our first grandbaby, which is absolutely wonderful. All the things I would have made fun of every grandparent for saying that it was the best ever, with my inside eye roll thinking, really? It all happened. It's all true. It really is the very best.
Yeah. So we got little Isaiah here now, and for the first time, the boys outnumber the girls now that everybody's married. So we're well, I mean, I love the girls too. They're great, but it's been kind of cool. So one of the things that you're passionate about is young families and young moms. You've been so helpful to so many for so long. And you just mentioned it's cliche to kind of think the grandparent thing. But one of the things that if you're young, it kind of sounds cliche. People say to you so often, you better really enjoy it. It's going to go by fast. Got so many leaders who are listening, and they're going to blink and they're going to be, old like us or like me. I guess you're not calling yourself old yet, but we're making progress anyway. But our kids are grown now, and it does feel like we just blinked and they're gone. So you got young moms and dads out there. What would you say to them during these holidays that are coming up? And then, just as they think about the next year is going to fly by pretty fast, and and then the next thing you know, it'll be a decade, and then they'll be having weddings and grandbabies. So
I know, I remember people telling me that when I was
we
that age.
Laughed at
people
them.
our age telling me 25 years ago
thought they were
same
crazy.
things. I know, but it is true. It does go by so quickly, and just embrace, I would say, just embrace the crazy, embrace the chaos sometimes, embrace the imperfection of it all. There are no perfect days. There's no perfect holidays. There's no perfect marriages, no perfect families, no perfect businesses, no perfect leaders. There's just embrace. It's life. You have a day. You love well. You try to lead well. You learn from your mistakes, and then every day is a new day. You move on. You get up the next day and you go at it again.
Yeah. There are, we've talked about this before, there are seasons of leadership. There's people who are listening who are starting stuff. There's people who are listening who are nearing the finish line. There are people who are thinking about transitioning or changing something. But you mentioned something there I think that's important, is that when we make mistakes in a season, we actually, if we learn from those, we get to take those lessons with us into the future. Anything else you'd say about that? I mean, it's, I know we've grown a lot through the years just as we've learned together and with our family, but what do you say to somebody who's in a season where they're feeling maybe even impatient? They're wanting to be in the next season. How do we stay patient and stay where we are and keep learning where we are?
I have a group of young moms that I mentor, and they're all in a season right now of extreme physical busyness because
they've got
littles running around, and they're tired, and it's easy.
The moms are tired, not the babies. The babies aren't tired.
Exactly. And as we're doing a study right now, we're doing a Paul Tripp study on parenting by Paul Tripp, and as I read it, so I was just telling them this week, I cringe sometimes about the things I didn't do correctly. I think if I could go back and change that, I wish I had known this 20 years ago. But the reality is you can't know 20 years ago what you know now until you just, it seems kind of trite to say, or you'll know it when you know it, but it's just the truth. You just learn it by living on earth and living each day, day by day, year by year. You just know more in 20 years than you know right now. And even if it would be impossible for me to know all those things 20, 25 years ago. And if I did have it to do over again, I would still do the same things because that's all I would know. You can't know until you know.
You do the best you can with what you have at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
But you ask questions on the journey so you can learn and so you can get better. And that's what all these moms are. They're amazing moms and they are learning and they're asking the right questions and they are trying to be better and they're all leaders. Yeah. Really, we're all leaders and we're all influencers.
You're right.
Whether we realize it or not. Someone is watching us, someone is listening. And especially when you have littles, they are watching and they are listening. So we're leading them and we're influencing them in that space, whether we're at home or away from home.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm excited now because we can try out the new stuff that we're learning on Isaiah. So
that's right.
We do get sort of
we get to do all the fun stuff without the responsibility.
The grandparent, and then we can send them home. That's exactly right. That's cool. So yeah, that's fun. I love this idea though that we make mistakes as we go, and so doesn't it take pressure off if somebody's listening? We don't have to be perfect to love well. I mean, we just have to do the best we can with what we have, and trust that it's going to be okay. So yeah, that's good. So you talked about your mom's group. You've been doing that for a while. It's something you're passionate about. One of the things that we talk about is we think every kid deserves to grow up in a good home. We have leaders listening. They get involved in their business. They got all kind of stuff going on outside of home. But, I always say that if you win at work and you lose at home, you still lose. Give us some reminder here of just how important it is that we don't give all of our energy or maybe even our best energy outside of home. I mean, it's important for us to win at home as well, correct?
Oh, of course. I think it depends on what season you're in as to how much energy you give outside the home versus inside the home. Right now, since we are officially empty nesters with the last 2 weddings under our belts this year, there is more time to give more energy outside the home. You had a different job when our children were very small, and so you were able to be at all the soccer games. You were actually their soccer coach for a couple of years, but you were able to be at basketball games and track meets and piano recitals and all those things, and I was really thankful for that. I understand there are jobs that don't always lend to being at every single thing your child does, but as much as possible, I do feel like parents should be engaged with their children and the energy, because you have such a short season to be involved in their lives. It really does happen so quickly, and you don't get that back. That season, once it's gone, it is gone. Yeah. And that seems kind of severe, like, ooh, are there no do-overs? There are certain things in life we don't get do-overs. Yeah. And I don't get back certain things. Then it's opportunities to engage in their lives, and it's very important to take advantage of them and have my energy go there, because we all have the same amount of time. It is the equalizer. That's right. The one commodity every single person has the exact same amount of, and to choose well how we spend our time, whether we work outside our home, inside our home, really gauging that carefully in each season and what is needed.
So I think we live in a obviously a little bit different world than we did a year ago, and it's going to change again in the next year and the next decade. It just continues to change. But we raised our kids in a different world than one that parents are raising theirs in now, with screens. And, we had screens, but it's gotten to a point where I think I even mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the podcast that the average person, I just read a thing that said the average person's now on their screen about 12 hours a day, which is crazy, mind-blowing if you think about it. So what do you say to moms and dads who are trying to raise kids in this generation. I know y'all have talked about it in your mom's group and just screen time. Can you help us on that? Because I don't think kids are the only ones that need to be protected here. I think some of us are, a lot of us are on screens all the time. So,
right. Well, especially this year, screens have become part of our everyday life with the Zoom calls and everything. I feel like I'll be redundant and just repeat what experts have said, but no screens for littles, really. Under the age of 2, absolutely. They need no screen ever. And even for toddlers up to school age.
I mean, you guys have been learning that their brains are actually forming. We're not doctors or anything.
Exactly.
But
I'm not a doctor.
There's stuff going on.
Exactly. They need interaction. They need face-to-face. They need voice-to-voice. And they need to be outside. I read one time years ago that the majority of our memories in our formative years, say under the age of 5, if we try to remember something, it's outdoors. Yeah. Being outdoors, it'll be a memory where you are outside.
Yeah.
And I know from my own childhood and raising even in our children, that is something that's missing now. Children are indoors more. They are behind a screen, or in front of a screen, I should say, more. And the less screen, the better. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard because that screen is an entertainment and it can be a great babysitter, but it can never replace human.
We're going into the holidays here, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We've got a few weeks left, and as you let's just say we think about where we've been this year. A lot of people have been at home all year, and so we haven't really talked about this. But how do we make the holidays family oriented? I think that's going to be a challenge this year because everybody's been, we haven't, but a lot of people have been with their kids every day, all day. They show up on the Zoom calls, all that kind of stuff. So how do you protect maybe the traditions or start the traditions or some of those kind of things? I mean, you got any thoughts on, how to make these next few weeks special?
Well, again, yes, to what you said, people have been together so much with their families, and I hear people joking even about just needing some alone time away from their families.
Ready for vacation.
Right.
Ready to go back to work.
Right.
So they can get some
or
rest.
their kids going back to school. And we kind of laugh, joking about it. But there are times we do need to pull away so that we can really enjoy the together time. But I would just say to remember to conscientiously and intentionally give pause, especially, during this holiday season, of the things that we, as we do and we have done, that we are thankful for. I think a time of affirming one another verbally, which is something we forget to do. It might sound a little corny, but truly have a time of vocal affirmation of one another. Maybe going around, what do you like about Randy? What do you like about Rebecca? Or one thing great that you see in this person. One thing, tell me a funny memory about this person. Really, we forget to stop and remember what we love about one another. We forget to tell each other what's special about them. We forget the value sometimes of verbal affirmation and encouragement of one another. And it's not even the foods we eat and the way things look as much as the way we leave that place feeling. So when someone leaves my home, I want them to carry that experience with them. I want them to think, I was loved. That was a good day. I laughed. I feel valued. I want to go back and have that environment again. Or I want to recreate that environment in my next place I go.
Yeah, that's so good. That's really wise insight there. I'll just verbally affirm that. That's really good. That was great.
So that's one thing you would say is nice about me?
Yeah, I'd say that's
Thanks.
That's nice about
Thanks.
you.
I worked on that one. I practiced.
No, that was really good. I do think sometimes it's easy for us to be with our kids and not really, or our spouse and not be with them. I mean,
that's so true.
To be there, but our mind's on, our email, or our mind's on our screen, time, or our mind's on our hobby or whatever it is. And we actually can be with someone without being present with someone.
So true. I mean,
especially with kids.
What can I add to that?
Not just with kids. I mean, marriages as well, but.
Yes. And I think we're all guilty of even I'm with you and I'm having a conversation, but instead of listening to you, I'm already processing what I'm going to say when you're through talking. That's not listening well. To listen is to be engaged and to listen to what you're saying and to process it instead of thinking about what I'm going to say when you're quiet. Or to, when I'm with you, to really be with you, like you said, not to just physically be with you. I need to emotionally connect with you.
Yeah.
Because then when you leave, when we walk away, it is what has that emotional connection, psychological connection, is what you'll carry with you. Not that we were just in the same room together doing different activities.
Yeah, I heard a guy say just today, actually, that he said the most interesting people are the ones who are interested in others. And I think that's, if you want to be interesting at a party, go be interested in the people at the party. And the next thing you know, you become a pretty interesting person at that point. And back to the point of what you're saying there, I think it's important to create an environment where people feel celebrated, feel validated, feel like you're interested, and not feel that way. You are interested in them. So that's good. I want to kind of dig a little deeper on that. We talk about communication in our workshops and things that we do with companies. We talk about communication being the oxygen of an organization. And I've shared before the story. We had a chance years ago to go to China, and you remember we went up the mountain and
we didn't get oxygen like everybody else.
They were selling the oxygen at the bottom, and we didn't. I thought that was a waste, and so we were all about to die when we got to the top. But anyway, I digress. I think communication is the oxygen of a relationship as well.
I agree.
And so, can you talk about we have people that are maybe they're living together. She's out working, he's at home. He's out working, she's at home. They're both out working. Nobody's at home. They come back home, and I don't necessarily want to debrief my day. You want to hear about my day, or you don't want to debrief your day, and I want to know what's going on. Like, how do you keep communication in a relationship healthy? We both think it's really important. Give us some things we can do to make sure our communication stays on track. And we would both be the first in line to say, this is something we have to work on, right? I mean,
constantly.
35 years and we still don't have it.
And we talk about how poorly we do this more often than we do it right.
Exactly.
One thing that we have been doing, and it's helpful for me, is we just schedule a weekly meeting, which sounds maybe too business-like, but we schedule going to the dentist, we schedule ball games, we schedule everything in our lives. Why not schedule the things that are the most meaningful and the most important that will maintain the relationships with the people we love the most? We schedule meetings with people at work. Why not schedule a meeting with your family? And it doesn't have to be a 2-hour meeting. This is 5 minutes. This is 10 minutes. We're going to sit. We're going to unplug every device. Let's connect. What are you doing? What's on the agenda? It could be a calendar meeting.
We both bring our calendars. I mean, let's.
Yeah, well, that's the way we do it.
Yeah, ours is called. We just call it a marriage meeting because we're married. we had to have a name for it, or I did. So it's the marriage meeting. Yep. It's 4:00. It's on Mondays.
That's right.
And
because we need it. I need it. I really need it.
We bring our calendars and we talk through those things. And
it's not that you hadn't already told me something. I need reminding. I told you. I said, because a lot of times we say, I've already told you that.
Right.
Well, did you tell me that?
Right.
Well, even if you did, I need reminding. So every Monday that we can just say, this is what's happening this week. And also, I mean, you can go further. It doesn't have to be a calendar meeting. It could be just tell me what's going on. Tell me. And if you want to choose, the top 2 things you need to discuss. The high-low game, like you play with your kids when they're little at the supper table. What's your high for the day? What's your low for the day? Whatever it is, you just need to stop and have a connection with those people you live with.
You can do all kinds of things. In our case, we have kids that are grown and gone, and we don't get to be with them a lot. But we can kind of piece together an update about them because you've talked to one of them and I've talked to one. And
exactly.
One of the son-in-laws called or whatever. And the next thing you know, we have. And so for us, our faith is important to us, so we can pray for our kids or whatever it is. We can just be on the same page at the beginning of the week, and so far it seems to be a good practice. But you have to practice,
and you have to be intentional.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all that. Thanks for really you guys joining us today and sharing a little bit of your holiday with us. Next week's going to be Thanksgiving. You're going to have a great time, hopefully with family and friends around the table. I encourage you to hug a little harder next week and love the people that you love the most. Spend time with them and really drinking that opportunity to be around the table together next week and celebrate the ones who are there. And remember, even, I know we'll do that, the ones who are not there anymore. And so I encourage you to do that. Laura's agreed to join us again next week for a second part of our conversation where we're going to get into all kind of cool stuff about design and some of the things that she's passionate about and some of the things I think will really encourage you as a leader as well. So until next week, you guys have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for listening to the Randy Gravitt Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, we ask you to leave a review if you haven't already and subscribe so you'll be alerted when we post new content. We also encourage you to share a link with your friends. Tune in Friday for another episode with a special guest leader. Now, go lead yourself first. Remember, leadership begins at home.